The X3 is one of BMW's best-selling models, so the arrival of a new one is pretty important. This is the all-new 2025 BMW X3, and it's bigger, more powerful, and more spacious than the outgoing model. But does that necessarily mean it's better? In this video, we're going to take a look. So the first thing you'll notice when taking a walk around of our Vegas red tester is that they've definitely tried to incorporate a little bit of XM DNA into the X3, and that's a bit of a bold move considering that the XM doesn't really sell all that well, and if you read internet comments, it might be one of the ugliest SUVs ever built. Now, I don't wholly agree with that, and I do think that this toned down styling on the X3 is a lot better than that, and it's far from the worst of BMW's most recent designs. I do think it could have the potential to alienate some of the loyal X3 customers that are used to blending in with their X3, not necessarily standing out. Now, I think this color does a lot of justice on this car. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. The grille is going to change quite dramatically from the base model, which is called the 30. There is no more I attached to that. It's no longer the 30i, it's just 30. Versus this one, the M50. That's right, we're all the way up to 50 on the back of an X3 now. Now this grille has some kind of faux lines in it, although you can see there's not really a lot of airflow going in there. That's actually done down here with these kind of gills that open up while you're moving. We've got the little M badge right here, and you can't really see it at during the daylight right now, but we do have the ring that actually lights up around the outside of that grille here on the X3. That is another thing that was kind of taken from the XM and incorporated now at a lower price point. Now, this vehicle is larger than the outgoing X3. It's 1.3 inches longer, 1.1 inches longer overall. 1.1 inches of that is in the wheelbase. It's about an inch lower than the outgoing model, which is kind of interesting because it does look pretty tall, but it is scrunched a little bit. You can get a variety of wheels on here. These are the largest 21-inch wheels. 19-inch wheels come standard, but there are 20s as well. I like the wheel pattern, and you can get either red or blue brakes as part of an M Sports Professional package that we do have here on this car. You'll notice the recessed taillights that are, door handles that are part of this car that are on most BMWs at this point. And then here at the back, again, we're seeing a lot of XM DNA. We've got kind of a big tail light down here, and then we have some additional lights down here. We've got our M50 badge, which is quite cool looking as well. And then because we do have the M50, we've got some nice quad exhausts here at the back. Now here on the inside, the X3, just like how it is on the outside, has some really interesting surfaces and changes within the BMW lineup that we really haven't seen before, especially not on an X3. We're going to start with the seats here. So this is the M50, so we've got a little bit of a different seat here than the base model. Now, Veganza seats are going to come standard, so that is BMW's new faux leather. I actually really love it. It's very soft. It feels like the real stuff. This is going to be your combination Veganza and Alcantara. I do kind of appreciate how they've done it here. This is a very cool looking seat first and foremost, but I like that all the Alcantara, which is the stuff that really gets worn and doesn't like wear very well over time, is all up here, not on the bolsters where it's going to get ruined. We also have the M stripes here. You can see the subtle stitching in there as well. Heated seats are going to come standard on the X3. This is an optional ventilated seat. You can actually opt for real leather, merino leather, if you want that, but I'm telling you, this Veganza stuff, probably the best faux leather that BMW has ever done. Now we're going to step on into the cabin, where I'm less impressed with the material quality as I was on the seat. tons of black. Just a sea of black with not much dividing it up. Black here on the dash, black here on the door panel with somewhat soft but a little bit scratchy material. We do have some stitching up here that kind of deviates it a little bit, but this cabin just looks a little bit boring to my eye. We'll go ahead and hit the start button down here. We've got kind of the same steering wheel that we've seen in a couple of modern BMWs now, with the kind of cool geometric shape here at the bottom. We've got big, nice paddle shifters. That is one addition here on this M50 model that I do really like. These are basically the same paddle shifters with the red rubber backing that you'll get on a lot of the M cars. You even have the boost pull. You just pull this and it's going to give you maximum power. The other thing that's interesting here is that this is going to be the first BMW with iDrive 9, not 8.5. So we do have a big, large, curved display here. Android open source powering this guy, so we do have some clever stuff there on the back end. It doesn't necessarily look all that different to me on the front end, although I haven't really played around with this that much. But just look at how many menu items there are here. If we come here onto the main menu, this is just impossible if you're trying to find something in a hurry while you're driving. I'm really a good benchmark for this right now because this is my first time being in the vehicle and it's really hard to find certain things. There is a speed warning on this car. It is letting me know every time I go a mile over the speed warning with a beep. And to shut it off, it's somewhere in here, but I dare not even try to find it. They have come out with this layered approach, so you have your map here, and then you can kind of find quicker menu items here. But if you need something that's a little bit deeper, like I said, it's really difficult here. I also hate how there's no climate control bar down here. To pull it up, you have to basically go into the climate menu, which is frankly obnoxious, if I'm being honest. And there's no quick way. I want to just click that and get like a little ribbon right here where I can just adjust the fan speed real quick without having to leave whatever I'm in, whether that be CarPlay or the stock navigation. And I feel like this whole apparatus is just a little bit of a mistake. We do at least have the Crystal iDrive controller here with some hard buttons to get quick to stuff. I do at least have a volume knob and some other nice controls like that. So BMW has not completely reverted to all touch, but it is just a little bit too much stuff buried in menus for my liking. I do have to say I really like this large storage area with the cup holders, wireless phone charger here. This looks like it would be as well, but it is just another area where you could put a second phone, but we do have our USBs right here. I very much like the interaction bar that lights up. I'm going to go ahead and try to change that for you. We're in about as dark of lighting as we can be. So if I put it into sport mode, this lighting is going to change. You can see it here on the doors as well. I'll try to turn down the tone as much as I can so that you can see that. So here now it's red because we're in sport mode. Annoyingly, you have to leave the sport menu every time you change the modes. Again, something that I find really infuriating on a lot of modern BMWs at the time. I like what they've done with the lighting, but the problem here is that there's no sort of other materials to kind of make it look nice, no physical materials. They have this kind of light bar wrapped around this console thing, and you can get some like trim around this, but that is literally the only trim you can get in this car. In fact, the Car Confections guys, if you watch their YouTube channel, they were actually kind of poking fun at this car because on the configurator, you can pick your trim, and unless you pan down to this area, because it really only shows you like this, you have no idea where you're selecting that trim piece for, which I actually find kind of hilarious. The other thing that those guys complained about, and I think rightly so, is going to be how you adjust the air vents here. You can't actually just go ahead and grab them, which is fine on cars like the X5 where it has the big kind of tuning knob. Now these are just a little bit harder to point. I especially find this one over here very hard to point in the door. And then as I'm doing it, I've noticed I've bumped accidentally. This is all digital, how you adjust how much airflow is coming out of here. And I have bumped that a few times while trying to either lock the doors or do other things, which is just a tad annoying. We do have a Harman Kardon audio system in here. We have a really nice piece of glass. I love this big piece of glass. It doesn't let too much light into the cabin, which is kind of nice. But the problem about having a piece of glass this big that isn't split here in the middle is this glass does not open. So while it is nice and while you can cover it on a hot day when you don't really want to have all the glass, you can't open it up and enjoy the wind from it, which is, you might really like it, you might not. Unfortunately, I didn't really have the full list of specs for the X3. I had some, but legroom was not listed on there. But because this new X3 is a little bit longer than the outgoing model, I suspect that the legroom has increased as well. This is just going off of like basic feel. I have a really nice amount of legroom back here. Of course, I've got air vents and USB-C ports right here. I also have these little slots right here. It doesn't have the USB port in there, but you can plug in different things like a phone holder, iPad holder, coat hanger, etc. So your kids can maybe have their phone mounted back here. Although, you know, there's no entertainment system or anything back here. I will say these back seats are really comfortable. These front seats are really comfortable as well. I forgot to mention that the bolstering I think is really nice, but you even get a little bit of bolstering here in the back as well. This is a very nice car in terms of space. Last but not least, you're probably curious about how this new larger X3 stacks up against the old one in terms of cargo space, and the answer is that it stacks up quite well. You now have 31.5 cubic feet of space back here compared to just under 29 cubes in the outgoing X3. We've got some grocery hooks and stuff here on the side. Now, the annoying part is to fold down these rear seats, you are going to have to reach quite a bit. There are no latches down here to go ahead and fold those down easily. So you will get a little bit of a workout there, but once you have the seats down, you do get a really nice amount of space in this car. Just over 67 cubic feet of space compared to just under 63 cubes previously in the old X3. So this is a cargo space improvement over the old X3, and I doubt anybody buying this car will really complain about having more space. All right, now let's get underway in the new BMW X3. Now, BMW has talked a lot about how this car is stiffer, more rigid, and overall better handling than the outgoing X3, but we are going to put that to the test. And of course, to do that, we are driving the sportiest M50 model. Now, the 30 xDrive model is going to get a 4-cylinder B48 turbocharged engine. Now, that produces 255 horsepower, 295 pound-feet of torque, gets you to 60 miles an hour in a respectable 6 seconds flat. But this M50 model, way faster. We've got the B58 3-liter turbocharged inline 6. It now makes 393 horsepower and a whopping 428 pound-feet of torque. That is a nice healthy bump from the outgoing model, and yes, it is still smooth, still going out to all-wheel drive through an 8-speed automatic. We do have 48-volt mild hybrid technology on both models, both variants of the X3 now. So I do really like that. We have the standard M Sport suspension here, which is a little on the firm side, although really compared to some other BMWs I've driven, not that bad. If you want, you can also opt for sort of a dynamic damper control, they call it. So you can get an adaptive suspension that's not the M Sport one. So if you do just want your X3 to be more comfortable and not necessarily sporty, you can go for that. I probably would. I haven't even driven it, but why would you not want your crossover that you drive every day to kind of be more comfortable? I find that absurd that you would ever want it to be less comfortable. Now, the steering is very light. They've definitely done a number on the steering to make it just less heavy than in previous iterations of the X3. We do also have a lot of fake noise coming into this cabin, and now that is a decision that I really don't understand. We have the BMW iconic sounds here, but we've got the B58. This is such a great motor. It sounds so good, but I almost don't believe that it sounds good anymore because I'm hearing this kind of fakeness to it every time I kind of rise in speed, and then the sound doesn't really rise to the same level with it. It's kind of bizarre. See the turning circle here, not good enough to make that turn like I thought I might be able to. Having to do a 3-point. I am trying to avoid some traffic here on this local South Carolina road that I'm on. It still feels as powerful as it ever has. This is such a great motor, but they felt the need to mess around with a good thing here. Oh, you pull the boost paddle, and it really loves to scoot. 0 to 60 in this car is about 4.4 seconds. Now, I have not had the opportunity to kind of prove that for myself, but oh, I firmly believe that this thing will run a 4.4 seconds to 60. So I do think that this is a relatively enjoyable little crossover. I don't think it's too firm, even with the M Sport suspension. God, I feel like you would get annoyed with that sound, and I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I don't understand who this is for anymore. I mean, I never really understood who was buying like an X3M, and there is no X3M, at least not at the moment. Guarantee you that one's coming to sit above this. But I mean, this is still more comfortable than an X3M. It's still really fast, faster than anybody could ever really need. But I think most people are going to be happy with the xDrive 30. I think you just go ahead and get that model. I think you'll be perfectly satisfied, and you don't need to spend the extra money that this M50 costs, which we'll talk about as we pull over. So that's going to wrap up our time with the 2025 BMW X3. Pricing starts at $49,500. That's for the 30 xDrive base model with the 4-cylinder engine. xDrive does come standard. There is no rear-wheel drive model, at least not as of recording this video. If you want this M50 xDrive, that's going to be about $64,100, and then it does go up a lot from there depending on what options you put on this car. I still think that the X3 is competitive in its segment, but I'm not necessarily happy with some of the changes that BMW has made. The ride is a lot better even with the M Sport suspension, but the fake noise, why did they give it fake noise when this engine already sounds so darn good in so many other vehicles? I just don't understand that move. If I were in the market for this, I'd probably just stick with the 30 xDrive. I think that's more than enough for most people. I don't think you need the added power and performance of the inline six, and the way that they've kind of tuned it in this car, it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me, especially not for a premium of about $15,000. Now let me know in the comments, which X3 would you buy, or would you consider one of this car's rivals from Audi or Mercedes? As always, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell to be alerted of our latest videos, and I'll see you next time.